The law of multiplication. Wisdom from the parable of the talents, the principle of growth. A divine mandate. Since the dawn of civilization, humanity has understood that resources must be cultivated, not hoarded. From the fertile lands of Mesopotamia to the bustling markets of ancient Rome, wealth has always been in motion. The law of multiplication, deeply rooted in biblical wisdom, teaches that wealth and talent must be utilized to grow. The parable of the talents, as recounted in the Gospel of Matthew 25:14-30, serves as one of the most profound illustrations of this principle. In it, a master entrusts his servants with varying amounts of silver, expecting them to use their resources wisely. Those who invest and multiply their wealth are rewarded, while the one who buries his talent in fear is cast into darkness. This parable is not merely a lesson about money. It is a fundamental truth about life itself. That which is left idle decays, while that which is cultivated flourishes. It is a law as immutable as gravity, recognized by scholars, economists, and sages throughout history. Biblical foundations of multiplication. The Bible consistently emphasizes the importance of growth and stewardship. In Genesis, God commands humanity to be fruitful and multiply. Genesis 1:28. A directive that extends beyond reproduction to all aspects of life, including financial resources. The wisdom literature of the Old Testament, particularly the book of Proverbs, abounds with admonitions about diligence and investment. Consider Proverbs 13:11. Wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. This aligns perfectly with the parable of the talents, reinforcing that sustainable wealth is built through effort, patience, and prudent management. Similarly, Ecclesiastes 11:2 advises, "Give a portion to 7, or even to 8, for you know not what disaster may happen on earth." This speaks to the wisdom of diversification, an investment strategy still heralded today. In Jewish tradition, the Talmud expands on this wisdom by advising, "Let every man divide his wealth into 3 parts, a third in land, a third in business, and a third at hand." Baba Metzia 42. This ancient diversification strategy ensures that wealth is both protected and actively growing, embodying the essence of the law of multiplication. The ancient philosophy of growth. The Greeks and Romans, though less reliant on divine injunctions, also understood the power of multiplication. Aristotle, in his Politics observed that money is a tool that should be set to work rather than left idle. The Stoics, particularly Seneca, cautioned against the stagnation of resources, noting that wealth should serve a purpose beyond accumulation. Even Confucian thought, rooted in a vastly different cultural and spiritual framework, echoes similar sentiments. Confucius famously stated, "He who will not economize will have to agonize," reinforcing the idea that resources, whether financial or intellectual, must be managed wisely. Across civilizations, thinkers recognized a universal truth. Prosperity comes to those who engage in productive enterprise rather than fearful hoarding. Hoarding versus investment. The lesson of the parable, the stark contrast between the servants in the parable of the talents, reveals the dangers of stagnation. The first two servants, given 5 and 2 talents respectively, immediately put their money to work and doubled their portions. Their master, upon returning, praises them, saying, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little, I will set you over much." Matthew 25:21. The reward for responsible multiplication is greater abundance. The third servant, however, paralyzed by fear, buries his talent in the ground. He reasons, "Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow, and gathering where you scattered no seed, so I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground." Matthew 25:24-25. His master rebukes him sharply. "You wicked and slothful servant, you ought to have invested my money with the bankers, and at my coming, I should have received what was my own with interest." Matthew 25:26-27. This passage is remarkable in its direct endorsement of investment. The master makes it clear that wealth should be active. Even the smallest return from a banker's interest is preferable to stagnation. The lesson is unmistakable. Those who refuse to multiply what they have will inevitably lose it. The investment principle. The principles laid out in the parable of the talents align closely with modern investment strategies. Financial experts consistently emphasize that capital must be put to work in order to grow. Consider Warren Buffett's philosophy, which mirrors biblical wisdom. The stock market is designed to transfer money from the active to the patient. Investment in assets, whether real estate, stocks, or businesses, ensures that money grows over time rather than being eroded by inflation or lost through inactivity. In contrast, fear-based financial decisions often lead to loss. The Great Depression and the 2008 financial crisis both saw panic-driven investors withdrawing their funds in a frenzy, only to miss out on the eventual economic recoveries. Those who understood the law of multiplication, who kept their money invested wisely, emerged wealthier when the markets rebounded. The moral obligation of growth, the parable of the talents, also implies a moral dimension to wealth. It is not simply about accumulating riches, but about using them for greater good. The master in the parable entrusts his servants with wealth, expecting them to act as stewards. Likewise, today's most successful philanthropists, such as Andrew Carnegie, John D. Rockefeller, and Bill Gates, embody this principle by multiplying their resources and using them to improve society. The early church understood this well. The Apostle Paul, in his second letter to the Corinthians, wrote, "Whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows bountifully will also reap bountifully." 2 Corinthians 9:6. This speaks not only to financial growth, but to generosity and the responsibility to contribute to the greater good. In Jewish tradition, the concept of *tzedakah* charitable giving is closely tied to wealth. The more one prospers, the more one is expected to give. Maimonides, the great Jewish philosopher, described different levels of giving. with the highest being empowering someone to become self-sufficient. This aligns with the law of multiplication. Money must be used not just for personal gain, but to create more opportunities for others. The call to multiply the law of multiplication is not merely about financial gain. It is about maximizing potential in every area of life. Whether in business, knowledge, relationships, or skills, that which is invested and cultivated will grow, while that which is hoarded and neglected will wither. The parable of the talents remains one of the most enduring lessons of financial and personal growth. It challenges us to overcome fear, to take risks wisely, and to trust that effort and investment will yield reward. It calls us to recognize that stagnation leads to decay, while growth, whether in wealth, wisdom, or virtue, leads to abundance. As the master in the parable declared, "To everyone who has more will be given, and he will have an abundance. But from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away." Matthew 25:29. The choice is clear. Will we be stewards of multiplication, or will we bury our potential in the ground? The law of multiplication urges us forward, to invest, to grow, and to create a legacy that extends beyond ourselves. How will you put it into practice today?